Mike Lynn Memorial League 2017 Week 1 Power Rankings, brought to you by Verite, the only place you can go on the internet for verified facts about Hillary Clinton. What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Week 1 Mike Lynn Memorial League 2017 Power Rankings. I will do my very best this season to make the Power Rankings a more regular occurrence, and we have the capacity to do this virtually with multiple participants. So if anyone is so inclined as to join me for a little discussion about our league, I'm happy to host that. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off with a little recap of the draft. So I think the big news was, I don't know, at least personally, I wasn't expecting Aaron Rodgers to go number 1. And I'm sure when Todd traded up for the number 1 pick, he didn't do so with Aaron Rodgers in mind, because he probably thought he was going to be kept in a top 3 and not in a second 2. But just with so many rookie running backs and then Jordan Howard sitting out there, I really thought one of the rookies or Howard was going to go number 1. And with the Homies being a team that historically drafts high upside guys, I really thought we were going to see a rookie there. But I can't argue against Rodgers going first. I mean, it makes sense. He's the type of guy that can win you a league. The only criticism of that pick I would have is that you already had Roethlisberger in your second 2. Otherwise, I think the first round, there weren't any real reaches. I mean, you can make arguments for Hunt over Fournette or Howard over both of them, or even Mixon as the number 1 rookie running back if you're looking long term. But I think everyone made some good picks. The one that I do question a little bit, not in terms of talent, but just in terms of the team makeup, is Justin's pick of Martavis Bryant, given that you already have Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. So very Pittsburgh dependent, and you'll see that a little bit later in the power rankings. But all throughout, I had a lot of fun during the draft. The other, you look at round 2, I know it's the end of round 2, but Bilal Powell in round 2, that's a questionable pick in my mind. I thought Kareem Hunt was a great pick. Otherwise, we'll see. I mean, we haven't really played any games yet aside from, last night's game. But that was a fun draft, and good luck to everybody with your teams. So let's go ahead and move on to how I see the rankings. Number 12, Stunt Cock. So for the second year in a row, I'm putting myself in last place, and I earned it, right? I went from first to worst, so I'm going to start myself out here. I do love the fact that I got Dalvin at 8. I thought he was going to be gone when I traded down. I really didn't think there was any way he was going to be there. And really, the guys I got at 8, first pick in the second round, and the 8th pick in the second round, all were guys I had considered for number 8. So I was happy with the top of my draft. Not having a 4th and 5th round pick really hurt me because I didn't get a tight end that I wanted. And then I'm really dependent on some bounce backs, 1 from Cam Newton, 2 from Allen Robinson. So if those guys don't bounce back to where they have produced earlier in their careers, my team's going to be in trouble. Number 11, Tommy's Terminators. Tom, I can understand if you have a beef with this ranking, given that you have DJ and Gronk. But I look at the way you drafted, and I really think that your depth at the skill positions is going to take a hit because of your decision to draft so many kickers and defenses, and even I think you have 3 quarterbacks too. I'd have to double check, but you know, you're relying to your wide receiver 2 spot right now. It's John Brown and then Willie Snead when he comes back. I think that's a big gamble. And then I see that you're starting Carson Palmer in week 1 over Derek Carr. I'm not sure I get that. But, you know, beyond that, obviously, you know, DJ is probably the number 1 overall player. And then Gronk plus Jimmy Graham has potential to be very good. So I might be way off here when I say number 11. But I just look at the depth. And then even the starting lineup, wide receiver, it's a little sketchy if you ask me. Number 10, Knut Kersey. Yeah, I don't know how you prefer to pronounce your team name, but there used to be a music shop called Knut Kersey, so I'm going with Knut Kersey. Anyway, this is a good team. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of talent, and you'll see even in my picks, I think you'll score a lot of points early. But Ben Roethlisberger's up and down. His home road splits are abysmal, and that affects the whole team. And when you have both his receivers in your starting lineup plus Le'Veon Bell, if they have a bad week, your team's going to suck flat out. Now, when they do well and they have a good offense, and I think Todd Haley's underrated as an offensive coordinator, your team's going to do really well. But there's going to be some boom and bust. And you look at the rest of the depth, you got a lot of fat guy running backs on there. So, like, you got Lacey and Deontay Foreman and LeGarrette Blount. And those guys could all be very good. But at the same time, there's risk there. Bryant is a suspension risk. Like, it's going to be all or nothing. This is either going to be a dominant team or a terrible team. And just because of that risk, I put you at number 10. And then week 9 is basically a bye week for your opponent, your host. Number 9, Stern Rake. Okay, so I see a couple issues here and then a couple positives, but I tend to start with the negatives. So I think you're putting a little too much faith in Amir Abdullah. And I see you got him in starting lineup for week 1. I just don't see it. You got Theo Reddick taking away third down touches, and you potentially have Zach Zenner, who is going to take away the red zone touches. So if you have Amir Abdullah just running between, 20-yard line to 20-yard line and coming out on third down, it just doesn't seem that special to me. I don't know. I know the opportunity is there. If he turns it on, he could do well. But injury risk, not that good. I like some of your other backs better. I'm a big proponent of natural family planning. And so, Phillip Rivers is my guy because of that. And I think he's an excellent quarterback. But I'll leave it up to you guys to determine how serious I am about why I like Rivers. He's dropped off after like week 12. So right around fantasy playoffs is when the wheels have come off for him the last few years. And, he's had a lot of throws, 4-year starter in college, been played basically every year since he became a starter without missing any time. So, and then you look at your backups, it's Deshaun Kaiser and someone else who's horrible, Jared Goff. Yes, a horrible backup. So your backup quarterbacks are terrible. Now, on to the positives. I think Christian McCaffrey is a fantastic player, and he is going to be a high-impact fantasy guy from the jump. I think it is going to make the Panthers' offense dynamic, and you will reap the benefits. And I think the table is really set for Carlos Hyde to eat. He has no good backup. Matt Bright is not special, and Kyle Shanahan and the Shanahan offense has historically produced outstanding running backs for fantasy. So I think Hyde could turn your fortunes around. Yeah. Last thing on your team. Letting Luck go. I understand the injury and all that, but if it was me, I'd have kept Luck, put Amir Abdullah out there and seen which one of those you get back and just rode out the injury with Luck and then had him on my team. But yeah, that's just me nitpicking. Number 8, Weapons of Matt's Distraction. Nice name. Not. Okay, Matt. Thanks for administering the site and saving me from being a scribe. I should have bumped you up a spot for that alone, but I'm not going to. Okay, so you got the Zeke cloud hanging over you. Obviously, you look at if this were pure dynasty, yeah, your team's really good, but we got to play for this year too, and Zeke's likely going to miss some time. And then apparently you didn't know the rules of the league, even though it's your third year. And so you have all these good running backs, but if you're going to have two strong running backs, you need a strong tight end. And although I think Cameron Brate is a serviceable player, he's a middling fantasy guy, and they drafted the tight end very early who's going to maybe hurt his production. And they also got Deshaun, so that's less targets for Brate potentially. So you might need to trade for a tight end if you're going to benefit from having two really good running backs. Now, you have up to 4 really good running backs if Mixon produces the way that I think he's capable of. Very talented player. They've said they're going to go with a hot hand. I expect that to be Mixon as the bell cow back by week 4. Number 7, yesterday's corn. Okay. I love the Jordan Howard pick. I think Rob was sitting right in front of me. He said, only doesn't catch passes. I don't really care. He's good. He's a good runner. And he can do I think he scored a touchdown off a screen pass against the Vikings last year. So I think he's legitimate, and I love that pick. I do worry a little bit about the rest of the lineup. Greg Olsen, I think, is going to potentially fall off a cliff at some point. He's getting up there in his 30s. You've got 4 running backs on your roster, and one of them is your handcuff running back. So that puts you in a tough spot in that bye week where you either have to go with 1 running back, 3 wide receivers, and I don't see the wide receiver depth here to make it through those bye weeks with a winning lineup. Number 6, Juchi's Giant Jocks. Okay, so I don't have a lot of faith in CJ Anderson, and you look at it seems like Elway's trying to replace CJ, right? He's invested draft picks at running back in Devontae Booker, and they got another rookie whose name I'm forgetting right now, and then they signed Jamal Charles. So I don't know that CJ is going to be the type of guy that you're going to be able to count on every week. I do love your top 2 receivers, Pryor and Thomas. I think lots of potential there. I think Pryor in the Redskins offense is going to light it up. And Michael Thomas is the guy the Vikings should have taken over Laquan Treadwell, and he's very good. And then I see Marcus Mariota as being a guy who makes a step from, continues to progress. Maybe he doesn't become elite fantasy, but becomes very, very good fantasy, and someone you'll probably keep next year. Otherwise, just that overall running back depth is a little sketchy. So thank you. I see a playoff team, but maybe not a bye week for you. Number 5, the homies. Okay, so this goes back to what I said earlier. Taking Rodgers number 1, I totally get it, but I do think the fact that you kept Roethlisberger as a restricted guy with Cam, and then Rodgers, so you end up with 2 of your top 5, 6 guys being QBs. It means that you are not super deep at running back and wide receiver, and then you're kind of boom or bust at running back. I mean, Gurley, is he a special player? Is he the special player that came out of Georgia, or has he become kind of an average guy that is only going to get what's blocked for him? Adrian Peterson, is he going to defy the odds and become the player he was a few years ago at past age 30 in an offense that is historically rotated its running backs and loves to throw to the running back? Something that I know we say in preseason he caught passes where Adrian can run routes or whatever, but he's had like 5 different coordinators in his career, and they all determined pretty quickly that he was not a passing threat, and Ingram and Kamara are. So I just don't see him as being a bell cow. And then, yeah, I know you just can't resist Josh Gordon. It's a waste of a pick to me in a league that every roster spot counts. I think that I know it's late in the draft, but I just don't think he can afford to do that. Obviously, this team it has very high upside and good players, and I see this as a playoff team. Number 4, the Meters. Mixed results here. I think it's a very good team. You probably got the better of me in that Keenan Allen T.Y. Hilton trade. Although I couldn't do it with Keenan again. He just gets hurt. 3 years. I couldn't do 3 years of him getting hurt. So I went for the safer guy. All right, great starters between Nuke and Keenan and Odell Beckham and, solid running backs as well. This is a good team. I'm penalizing you for drafting Orleans Darkwa. He's terrible. And then going off of my Peterson comments from talking about Todd's team, Dave, I think you are going to see Alvin Kamara being a guy that plays a lot. I would say plays a lot by week 5 or 6, to the point that he's a relevant fantasy starter. Number 3, Mana Twerk. Okay, Rob, I don't think we came out of the draft actually making a bet, which is disappointing because we have such a great history there. But I like this team. I understand Fournette at number 2, and that probably changed your plans. When Rodgers went 1, you probably thought Fournette was going 1. I'll tell you guys, when I was sitting on that first pick the whole year, I never had Fournette as my guy that I was going to take. And I think it'll come down to, you drafted probably the most talented guy, maybe not the best fantasy guy. And so I wonder if you'll regret not going with the player that is in the better offense in Kareem Hunt. But looking at the rest of the team, Benjamin and Evans, maybe 25 touchdowns between the two. I think Benjamin has had great opportunity in the preseason. And Mike Evans we know he's a stud. Corey Davis is a guy I think could end up being in your keepers next year. But tight end, I like the Evan Engram pick. I don't like the fact that you're starting Charles Clay until Engram shows that he's ready. But otherwise, it's a pretty damn good team. Number 2, Logan's Heroes. I think it's Logan's Rogers, right? I always forget what the actual team name is. Okay, you're being penalized for 2 reasons here, Selman. You drafted Blake Bortles, and you drafted 2 Jets on purpose. So if you weren't the defending champ, I probably actually would have had you lower. I think it was an interesting decision you made between Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson. If it was me, I'd probably put Jordy in the second 2, and I would have gone with Rodgers. And then you have a top QB, top receiver, and a top 3 running back. So you had a little more depth. I know the drop-off from Rodgers to Cousins isn't huge. I just don't love Kirk Cousins. He's probably a better fantasy player than real-life player. But I know it's defending champ. It's obviously a good team. But we'll see if Bilal Powell and the other Jet you drafted end up hurting you or not. Number 1, Team Mangravy. Okay, so obviously I get the benefit of we played a game last night. We saw how good Kareem Hunt was, but I thought that was a tremendous pick when it was made. That was a guy I really had my eye on. I didn't really think he was going to last number 8 after the injury to Ware, but pre-Ware injury, he's a guy I was probably going to take, and if he had been there at 8. So obviously the Ware injury opens up the opportunity, and he looks like a legitimate, RB1. Can catch the ball, can run the ball. He's very elusive, and I think that is going to be a league-changing pick right there for you. It's going to kind of vault you into the upper echelon of the league. You're deep at wide receiver, deep at running back. I love the Hunter Henry pick. This guy I was hoping to get as my starting tight end, but I had to go a couple rounds without a pick. So Chad, good team. I think it's cool you brought your dad too. I know he might have thought that the night wore on towards the end when we were taking a long time between picks, but that was a fun draft, and I think you did very, very well for yourself. Okay, let's move on to some predictions. All right, week 1 predictions. Okay, Logan Rogers skates by yesterday's corn, 59-53. Homies by a field goal over the Meters, 47-44. Team Mangravy trounces Tommy's Terminators, 69-37. Stunt Cock is bounced by Juchi's Giant Jocks, 61-46. Weapons of Matt's distraction ties Man at Work, 51-51. And Stern Rake runs into a behemoth in Canute Kersey, 70-45. All right, that's my predictions for week 1. I know that we have decimal scoring and likely won't have ties, but wanted to have a little fun, and I don't feel like putting decimals in. Never have. Good luck to everybody. I hope you have a successful week, except for you, Sean. I hope the rest of your team stinks and that I defeat you soundly. Hit me up if anyone wants to join me for power rankings in week 2.